Good morning and welcome to Channel 44. I am Masiga Shegu Sembatia to bring you this morning's news update. I'll be joined by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. We'll start with what's happening around us as revealed in the papers today. Government rights to schools over fees. It's in today's New Vision. Students stranded, parents cry out as schools hike. In today's New Vision, and also they bring you abridged curriculum, geography and chemistry for those that are in O-level. This could be a good place to read. And according to yesterday's floods, Kampala arcades flooded, and very many traders were seen draining water from their shops in Sekaziga House, downtown Kampala. Yesterday, business was brought to a standstill in various shopping arcades around Kampala following a downpour on Monday night. And also, Sipapa arrested the Kampala socialite Charles Olimi, also known as Sipapa, gets out of a cell over police mobile cell at Kabalagala police station where he was arrested in Bulindo. Well, these stories and more are in today's New Vision. And also in the Daily Monitor, parents said to pay for milk at school. Government says management bodies of schools are expected to meet with the already constrained parents to decide how much they should pay for the new compulsory milk feeding program that seeks to improve learners' health. It's in today's Daily Monitor. Get yourself a copy and get to know the details. And also, Monitor brings you Uganda's mysterious tycoons, and they also bring you police finally arrests Sipapa. They bring you these mysterious tycoons and what they do and how they ended up. Some have passed on. These include Ivan Semwanga, Brian White, Mike Ezra, among others. And also uproar over Nyege in today's Daily Monitor. Also tell you they show you how to excel in primary living examinations. You find questions of English, mathematics, science, and social studies. They also bring you what Ruto presidency now means for Uganda. A new sheriff in town. Kampala has warmly welcomed the election of William Ruto as the chief executive officer of Kenya, the region's economic powerhouse. That is what is in today's Daily Monitor, and very many stories. Get yourself a copy and you'll get to know what is happening in our nation. Right now, allow me to take you straight into our international news update. The United Nations has said it doesn't know the whereabouts of hundreds of Ethiopian former peacekeepers. They had sought asylum in neighboring Sudan after refusing to return home at the end of their mission. Tens of thousands of ethnic Tigrayans have crossed the border to seek refuge in neighboring Sudan since the civil war broke out in November 2020. Now the UN's refugee agency, the UNHCR, says that earlier this year they received credible reports that there were efforts to recruit soldiers, sometimes forcefully, among those refugees. The UNHCR says it relayed its strong concerns to the Sudanese authorities, and there were improvements. Among those seeking refugees were 650 Ethiopian former peacekeepers, mostly of Tigrayan ethnicity. They refused to return home for fear of persecution. Nearly 250 of them were granted refugee status, but the UNHCR told the press that it does not have the information on the rest. Last week, the Bloomberg news agency cited a top Tigrayan official claiming that hundreds of former peacekeepers had entered Western Tigray. It was presumed to join in fighting. And moving on to Nigeria, Polish President Andrzej Duda is in Nigeria as he begins a 3-day visit to Africa. The impact of the war in Ukraine and the migration are some of the issues he's expected to raise. The Polish president is also expected to address the worsening global food crisis, which he is expected to say has been fueled by the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. Officials say the visit will focus on fostering stronger economic and security ties. Mr. Duda will held talks with President Muhammadu Buhari in the capital, Abuja. According to local media, a deal on agriculture was signed. And in the United Kingdom, Liz Truss has rewarded her key allies with top jobs in a major reshuffle, hours after succeeding Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. Kwasi Kwarteng is made Chancellor, James Cleverly becomes Foreign Secretary, and Suella Braverman replaces Priti Patel as Home Secretary. One of Ms. Truss's closest friends, Therese Coffey, is appointed as Health Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister. Her new cabinet will meet ahead of her first Prime Minister's questions later. None of those who backed her defeated rival Rishi Sunak will remain in her full cabinet, with Dominic Raab, Grant Shapps, George Eustace, and Steve Barclay all returning to the backbenches. Ms. Truss's press secretary said the changes would unify the Tory party and pointed to senior roles for 5 of her leadership rivals: Suella Braverman, Tom Tugendhat as Security Minister, Kemi Badenoch as Trade Secretary, Penny Mordaunt as Leader of the Commons, and Nadim Zahawi as Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Elsewhere, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has welcomed calls by the UN Nuclear Agency for a safety protection zone at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The plant has been occupied by Russia since the start of the war, and it has come under repeated attacks since, with both sides blaming each other. The UN says that the shelling of Europe's largest nuclear power station must end immediately. Shelling could cause unlimited release of radioactive materials, according to the United Nations. In a report published yesterday following last week's much-awaited visit, the International Atomic Agency said that the presence of Russian military equipment on site could undermine its security. Shelling continued while a 14-strong International Atomic Energy Agency team visited the site last week, and its head, Rafael Grossi, warned at the time of a very real risk of nuclear disaster. Although most of the team left the plant after 2 days, it said 2 of its officials would remain there on a permanent basis. And also, the UN's nuclear agency says a security zone should be set up to protect the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Moving on, 2 days after a deadly stabbing spree in Saskatchewan, the surviving suspect's whereabouts remain unknown. Police says Miles Sanderson may have been seen on the James Smith Cree Nation before reversing themselves hours later in a province-wide alert. He has been the target of a major police manhunt since Sunday after an attack that left 10 people dead and 18 injured, not including the suspects. The attack has rocked the otherwise peaceful Canadian region. Police have warned to take appropriate precautions in an alert sent to mobile phones in the area. Yesterday's false alarm will probably do little to calm the tension felt in the indigenous community of James Smith Cree Nation, where most of the victims were found, and the nearby town of Weldon, which is mourning the loss of 77-year-old long-time resident Wes Peterson, who is reported to have been murdered in front of his house. And in Europe, the European Union is proposing to make it more expensive and harder for Russian citizens to get visas. Russians wanting to enter the European Union will face a lengthy application process and see fees rise from 35 euros to 80 euros. This should continue as long as Moscow wages its war of aggression against Ukraine, according to the EU Commission. More than 1 million Russians have traveled to the EU countries since the invasion of Ukraine in February. Margaritis Schinas, an EU Commission Vice President, said Russia had completely undermined the trust on which the existing EU-Russia visa agreement was based. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. I remind you of the Karamoja Cry. Tomorrow we are having an all-out call on people to join us in the Karamoja Cry as we deliver food relief to our very own. Pastor Robert Kayanja will be speaking to the whole nation. This will be broadcasted on all major media houses. Please tune in. You will be blessed and join us as we deliver food relief to the people of Karamoja. These are our very own that are dying of hunger, and it is our call to salvage the situation in the northeastern region of Uganda. Well, I remain Masiga Shegu Sembatia. We'll meet again at 12:45 with fresh news updates. God bless you. Enjoy the Pastors Now program. Good morning.